It's not stupid. It's advanced.
Oh, and remember, lasers.
Hi there guys, welcome back to Dad Play Stuff and another Daemon X Machina PvP video. So before we get into it, please leave a like, a comment and subscribe. Now, as you've probably guessed, this isn't your ordinary build. This is my Almighty Tallest Red build, using lasers. He loves lasers. Now, for anybody that doesn't know who that is, he's a cartoon character from the show Invader Zim that used to be on Nickelodeon and recently released a movie on Netflix. Heavily recommend watching it. Essentially, he is an alien leader of conquerors, and basically he's the smart one. His partner, Purple, is a bit stupid. His entire race is a bit stupid, if I'm honest. They worship the tallest beings. But yeah, on with the build. So essentially, it's a laser build. Now, if you don't know, and you've had your head in the sand recently, lasers have been heavily buffed to the point where they're actually usable now. They do quite a lot of decent damage, and if you're good with them, I'm not, then you can actually, do really well in PvP. Quite often, they are being used in tandem with some sort of shield at the moment. So yeah, it's become a viable strategy in this new meta. Now I'm sure some of you will recognise the name that you saw at the start of this match, and basically his strategy involves trying to melee me quite a lot. So what I'm doing is being quite defensive. I've found that melee enemies are one of the easier ones for me to take on in general, because what tends to happen is they rush in and then they get blasted by the laser close range. They can't dodge, it does a lot of damage very close up. There's also a case of I am quite fond of feathering, so quite often they rush towards me, I'm just out of range, and then I blast them in the face. Combine that with the fact that Garuda is spamming missiles, and yeah, you're going to have a bad time. Now the advantage of this build is that the weapon is fairly accurate, and when it does hit, it does significant amounts of damage. Disadvantages is that it does rely heavily on using femto. So if you're a player like me who uses Mirage quite a bit, and usually to an advantage, being quite an aggressive player normally, it kind of messes with my strategy a little bit. Now, in this current video I'm using 2 cannons at the one time. I later found that in some cases it was more effective to use one, and then use a different weapon in the offhand, like my arc guns that are on my back. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what this guy was doing. He had, I'm not going to say he had a decent rank, but he had enough BP that I would have expected him to move more. He seemed intent on taking hits. I don't know if he just has a really defensive build and normally he would be able to take a walloping, but he didn't seem to be in that position here. But as you can see, I can use my arc gun and a laser cannon in the main hand and still have enough femto in order to use mirages, which is really useful in fights in general. So if you try and go for full DPS, it can be difficult. If you're going for a kind of mix of things, you can sort of optimize it in a sense. There's also the choice of a shield as well, and that's kind of where my build ended up kind of sitting at, with one shield, laser cannon, another laser cannon in lieu in the back, and an arc gun. Combine that with the rising meta of the shields, and I'm finding quite often that people just put a shield on and I just can't break it. I don't know if it's because my build isn't quite optimized yet, or if they're just running like a crazy amount of laser defense. It's really I couldn't say for certain. So that can be an issue. There's a lot of cheese going around at the moment as we try and figure out what works best and what the best defense against certain things is. So it's going to be a kind of transition period, figuring out new builds and what from old builds work and what they've nerfed. And I definitely think they've ninja nerfed a couple of things. I've had a couple of people, including myself, feel that machine gun arms seem to be different in some way. We haven't been able to put our finger on it, but there is a difference there. So there might be some buffs and nerfs that they haven't listed in the patch notes or bothered to tell us about. That could just be me being paranoid, but in a lot of the times when developers do stuff, they do change things and then neglect to tell anybody about it. Now, one of the up-and-coming superstars of this patch has been your charged laser cannons. Now, I'm not using them, I'm using Stargazer, but the charged laser cannon, Salvation Ray in particular, have been getting a fair amount of use, and I've seen quite a few videos. Jen from the Reddit Discord for Daemon X Machina showed me a video where he basically one-shots a guy with a charged Salvation Ray. And now the guy obviously wasn't heavily armoured, was tailored towards speed and that, but if you're one-shotting anybody with anything, that definitely is a powerful weapon. This may be something to try in later videos with this build. I mean, it's the whole point of it is just to be a little bit cheesy, use lasers and use the Almighty Tallest Red name. So it was never meant to be a serious build to begin with, so I can be a bit more of an asshat with it, I feel. Now, here in this match you can see the combination of a charged laser cannon and a decent shield. This was potentially one of the worst matchups I could come up against, but I feel I did pretty okay if I'm honest. I'm not the best of PvPers in Daemon X Machina, so I'm not even going to pretend I am. But this guy was using something that was difficult to counter with the build I was running at the time. It just takes a couple of hits from a charged laser cannon and your health is half or lower. I mean, if they get about 4 or 5 consecutive hits, depending on your build, maybe less, and you're pretty much done for. It's one of those things you need to either have a shield to mitigate the damage, or you need to be really good at dodging, getting behind the enemy, not allowing them to focus on you. Now, what I will say is, in comparison to the last build I tried that I posted yesterday, this was a relative walk in the park. I actually felt I could win, and I wasn't taking insane amounts of damage at the best or worst of the times. It felt so cathartic to go through this build and be able to actually beat people. And yeah, if you want to check out that build video, it should be on the playlist. Just look for Old Rusty, the Rust Bucket build. It's so bad. But as you can see, this match gets rather close. I've managed to break his shield, and he starts moving onto a more aggressive stance. However, if he was more aggressive in the beginning, he probably would have managed to take me out quicker. It's the big problem with a lot of players. They're playing really defensively at the moment when they really shouldn't. Because, as I said, I'm not that great, and if they play aggressive, they tend to be able to get the upper hand on me. Now, this is something that works quite well if you get a cheeky stun off and then follow up with a laser barrage. You can do quite a lot of damage to your enemy. If I was using charged lasers, that would have been even worse. And if my shoulder weapon was something like Hera's Grudge, he would have been a smouldering crater on the floor. One of my favourite moves to do, to be fair. So there's a lot of things that I can do to adjust this build. I actually might put Hera's Grudge on the back just for the meme that it is. But as you can see, inevitably the combination of, he's using a machine gun I think, his charge cannon and other weapons, he eventually just takes me down. I'm a relatively light framed mech at this point in comparison to him, so he did have the upper hand in that sense, along with that shield in the beginning. So a lot of hits that normally would have did a lot of damage ended up doing not too much to him, and it gave him a head start, which if he didn't have I might have won, but it's neither here nor there. That and my stamina management sucks balls. And here we have the build. Now the Swordbreaker head is literally just for the look of it. It's got antennae like the Almighty Tallest. And then we have the Goliath body, which has incredible defense and laser defense. The processor is lock control because I am really bad at locking on. Our right arm and left arm are both Otis, and that's because it's got good precision and reload support, so it allows you to fire quite easily. And the legs are Liberator, mainly just for the defense. So that was the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And coming this Friday, hopefully, if Amazon doesn't screw up my delivery like the last game they did, I will be starting to do Pokemon Sword and Shield stuff. It might take away from the Daemon X Machina stuff, but any new content from Daemon X Machina is going to get covered by me, especially the bosses. I'll continue my comprehensive guide series with them, and any other crazy weird stuff that comes up with it. Maybe go into some of the new weapons and armors that get released. But we'll take that when it comes. Again, thank you very much for watching.